According to the Padma Purana, it is said that there are 84 lakh species of living beings in the world, and among them, the human form is considered the most precious and rare. Hindu traditions emphasize the significance of being born in a human form, which is seen as a result of one's accumulated good deeds in past lives. This form is not easily attained, and once it is seen as an opportunity to progress on the spiritual path or face the consequences of one's previous actions. While the human body is revered, the Puranas also describe the many sufferings one must endure from the moment of conception until death, marking human life as one filled with both potential and hardship. In the Garuda Purana, a detailed account is provided of the journey a soul undergoes during and after its time in the mother's womb. The suffering begins even before birth. It is described that after death, when a soul is reborn as a human, it first enters the father's body in the form of semen. When conception occurs, the soul merges with the mother's menstrual blood, and from this union it begins to take form. The early stages of life in the womb are depicted as painful, with the developing fetus experiencing discomfort due to its surroundings. The unborn child is aware of its past deeds and the circumstances that led to its current birth, and this knowledge causes it great distress. The fetus undergoes immense suffering as it grows inside the mother's womb. As the body forms, it is described as being surrounded by waste, and the child feels pain when the mother consumes food that is too spicy or hot. The fetus is compared to a bird trapped in a cage, unable to move its limbs and forced to remain in a cramped and dependent state. It is in this helpless condition that the soul regains some memory of its past lives and begins to reflect on its karmic journey. The unborn child prays to God, asking for liberation from this painful existence, yet it is bound to its fate due to the actions of its previous lives. The Puranas explain that by the 7th month, the child gains more knowledge and consciousness, which intensifies its desire to escape the womb. However, it remains trapped and continues to suffer, pleading with the divine for release. As the child grows closer to birth, it becomes restless, aware that it is about to re-enter the world of Maya, illusion, which will once again cloud its understanding of the truth. Despite the desire for liberation, the soul is bound by its previous karma, and the cycle of birth and rebirth continues. When the time for birth arrives, the child is delivered into the world, but not without difficulty. The Garuda Purana describes this process as a painful and traumatic experience, where the child's head is turned downwards, and it is forcefully pushed out of the womb. Upon entering the world, the child forgets its past lives and the prayers it made while in the womb. It is now in the grip of worldly attachments, and from this moment on, it begins to suffer the physical and emotional pains that accompany human existence. The suffering of the human form does not end with birth. In fact, the Puranas suggest that infancy is filled with its own set of hardships. The child is unable to express its needs and is dependent on others for everything. The infant is described as suffering from hunger, thirst, and discomfort, but unable to communicate or alleviate its own pain. Insects, mosquitoes, and bedbugs bite the soft skin of the child, adding to its suffering. The child, lacking the ability to speak, can only cry in response to the discomfort it experiences. As the child grows into adolescence, it continues to suffer, though in different ways. Youth is a time when individuals are particularly vulnerable to the temptations and distractions of the world. The Puranas describe how the young person falls prey to vices and desires, becoming entangled in worldly attachments and forgetting the higher purpose of life. The mind becomes clouded by ego and ignorance, leading the individual further away from spiritual understanding. During youth, relationships and attractions often dominate the mind, and many people lose sight of their spiritual goals in pursuit of fleeting pleasures. As the individual enters adulthood, the challenges of life continue to intensify. The responsibilities of maintaining a family, career, and social status bring their own form of suffering. According to Hindu teachings, those who become overly attached to material success and pleasure often fall into a cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Even when they achieve their worldly goals, the joy they experience is temporary, and they are soon left yearning for more. The pursuit of material wealth, power, and recognition becomes an endless struggle, and the soul remains bound to the cycle of birth and rebirth. The Garuda Purana emphasizes that one's actions in this life have direct consequences in future births. For example, if a person mistreats their parents in old age, they will experience the same treatment from their own children in their next life. This is the law of karma, where the actions one performs in this life determine the conditions of the next. Those who engage in harmful or selfish actions will face the consequences of their deeds, whether in the form of physical suffering or emotional torment. On the other hand, those who perform good deeds and live a righteous life will be rewarded with peace and spiritual growth. As old age approaches, the physical body begins to deteriorate, and with it comes another form of suffering. The body weakens, and the mind may become less sharp. Many people experience loneliness, illness, and a sense of loss as they grow older. The Puranas describe how the elderly often reflect on their past lives with regret, recognizing that they wasted much of their time pursuing temporary pleasures rather than focusing on spiritual growth. In this stage of life, the consequences of one's actions become more apparent, and the soul may once again turn to God in prayer, seeking liberation from the cycle of suffering. However, the Puranas also make it clear that the suffering one endures is a result of past actions. If a person spends their life engaged in negative actions and destructive behavior, they cannot expect liberation at the end of their life. The fruits of one's karma must be experienced, and it is through this suffering that the soul learns and grows. It is only by living a life of virtue and devotion that a person can hope to escape the cycle of birth and death. Despite the suffering described in the Puranas, the human form is also seen as a great gift. It is said that only in human form can one attain liberation or moksha. This rare opportunity to be born as a human gives individuals the chance to perform good deeds, purify their minds, and develop a deeper connection with the divine. Even though life is filled with suffering, it is also a platform for spiritual evolution. The human body is seen as a vehicle through which one can transcend the material world and achieve union with the divine. The Puranas stress that while the cycle of birth and death is inevitable, individuals have the power to change their fate through their actions. Those who live with awareness and dedication to spiritual principles can break free from the cycle of suffering and attain liberation. This is the ultimate goal of human life, and the opportunity to achieve it is considered a great blessing. The Puranas also speak of the power of prayer and devotion in alleviating suffering. Even while in the womb, the unborn child prays to God for protection and deliverance. This theme of surrendering to the divine and seeking guidance from a higher power is present throughout Hindu teachings. It is believed that through devotion one can overcome the limitations of the material world and find peace in the midst of suffering. In conclusion, the human form, as described in the Padma Purana and Garuda Purana, is both a precious gift and a source of great suffering. From the moment of conception to old age, individuals are faced with physical, emotional, and spiritual challenges. However, these challenges are not without purpose. They provide the soul with the opportunity to grow, learn, and ultimately seek liberation from the cycle of birth and death. The human body, while fragile and temporary, is the only form through which moksha can be attained. By living a life of righteousness, performing good deeds, and remaining devoted to the divine, individuals can transcend their suffering and achieve ultimate freedom.